guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in to what is going to be a review of a funky looking brush set from Real Techniques. This is their Rebel Edge trio that I picked up. It's kind of been a while ago at this point. I've mentioned them in previous videos, kind of telling you that I was just unsure of them. I've been using them off and on during the time that I've had them. I just haven't really come to form a strong opinion about them, but in seeing them in those videos, you guys had some questions and you wanted to see a review in general. So here we are today. Let's go ahead and talk about them. Oh, this is distracting. Oh no. Let's just zoom in a little bit. Now what is this? What is this happening? That was that. So for starters, these retail for 20 bucks. I bought them from Ulta, but I'm sure you can also buy them from the Real Techniques website as well. And apparently now Walgreens is selling Real Techniques, so I'm not sure if they have the whole collection or just certain selections exclusive to Walgreens. So you can now buy them there. One of the first things that I thought when I first saw these was, are these a gimmick? And I know a lot of you guys thought the same thing. It is why, in part, you asked me to review them. But as I think about my buying habits in 2019, I've talked about this in a video before, just about the rapid pace of production in the beauty industry, trying to be a little more discerning with what I buy. Is it everything for the sake of trying it and telling you about it? Or is it gonna be like more of a low buy where it's just the innovative things? And especially after that video and as I've continued trying these, I thought, where do these fall? Are these, oh, I hate that the light's over here. I'm sorry, I hope that's not distracting. But where do these fall in the scheme of new and innovative, trying to be innovative in the beauty industry, and gimmicky? And sometimes I think the answer to that is you just have to try to know, and that is where I become your guinea pig. So kind of unnecessary information, but a little bit of background to give you my thoughts when buying them, and also just keep you updated with where I'm kind of landing with what's gonna happen in 2019 for me. But back to the brush set. So basically, the premise behind these is that they are fluffy, yet pinched and long, it would seem. There are three different sizes. There is the largest, which is called the Rebel Edge Broad. There is a medium-sized one called the Rebel Edge Medium, appropriately. And then there is the smallest one, which is the Rebel Edge Fine. The two main differences across each is not just the size, but also the fluffiness of the brush. You can see that with the decreasing size, you also get a more precise line of bristles across the top. Now, I watched the video of these on Real Techniques where Sam takes us through how to use these, the multifunctionality of all of them, and then I also looked at the back of the box, which I do not have to show you today because I've had these for so long that the box actually got chucked when I was doing a clean sweep of this room. So, but just know that they have a video up and Sam really talks through all of the potential uses and benefits of these brushes. So basically, this larger brush here is good for setting powder, she applies it for bronzer, I believe, as like a finishing powder in that look. However, I also like to use it for bronzer as well, like a more precise kind of bronzing bronzer, but it could be used interchangeably for that with the medium-sized one, just depending on the level of precision you want. Today, I actually have applied it using the larger one on my right side and the smaller one on my left, just so you can get a sense of the difference between the two sizes and how they lay down product. But setting powder and bronzer is where I would pretty much draw the line for this guy, besides just general overall over the face. You can also use it for body, although I'm not sure I would use it for cream or gel products, mostly just powder. And I don't really use a whole lot of powder products on my body unless it's like, you know, shoulder glow or something like that. But you could definitely use this broader section for your body as well. Then this medium-sized one, like I said, can be used as a bronzer, a more precise bronzer probably than that larger one. And I've also used it for blush as well as my highlight. And I think using this as a highlight really illustrates how fluffy yet densely packed these are because it picks up a lot of product. I really have to be careful with my blush, especially because it picks up a lot of the product that I use, which is pigmented as it is. So it could be an easy recipe for overdone blush, which I don't mind. I don't personally think it's a problem, and if it is, I think it's a good problem to have, but just a heads up. This shape is also a little bit easier if you don't have a giant head like mine to get into this area when you're bronzing. I personally don't mind using a brush this big. It still gives me the precision I need, especially in this area between like your brow and your hair. Sometimes I'll use a bronzer brush and it feels like it just goes everywhere, but because of this pinched in aspect to these brushes, it's a little bit easier to get it in, but if you have less surface area to work with than me, this would be a better brush for you to do that as well. And then the last brush is the Rebel Edge Fine brush, and this she uses exclusively on the eyes. I'm sure you could do lots of other detail work if you are an actual makeup artist, or not, you just like playing with makeup. It would be good for detail work outside, like elsewhere on the face, but for practical everyday use, I imagine it's best on the eye. That's how she uses it, and today I used used it to slightly cut my crease. I kind of wanted to show how it really worked in a rounded area like your socket, because when I first saw this, I thought, yeah, sure, you can use it to brush powder across the eye, which is what Sam does in that video. But I thought it would be also, because it is so thin, be good for creating kind of an easy peasy cut crease. It's a little bit harder to manage in the crease area. So I will say if you're looking for a quick, really defined crease, you might still have to work a little bit with this, but it's not bad at keeping that line clean. Likewise, in terms of creating a line, it's also good for smudging out eyeliner. It is what I used to create my eyeline today. I think the inconsistency you see with the wing, you'll see that I had issues, like so many wings, getting them even between the eyes. My left one was a little bit thicker, chunkier, different angle of a wing, whereas my right one was perfection. The angel sang when I drew it, and it was just everything I wanted my wing to be. That, I think, was more user error and less the tool, because overall I found it was pretty easy to create a wing shape with this. Even better if you are smudging out eyeliner, because then you really get that pigmentation and you can kind of map out where you want the product and then just use this as a secondary smudging tool, as opposed to what I did today, which was take it right in the powder product and use it to create the wing from scratch. So you can do both, but I do find one is easier than the other, and generally this shape is good for doing that. Are you uncomfortable? The camera's just gonna keep getting closer and closer as the sunbeam moves higher and higher on my body. Okay, now let's talk about whether we actually need these brushes. So I will say they're very versatile, and I think Real Techniques does that across the board with their brushes very well, creating a versatile brush. Doesn't necessarily replace anything in my collection or do something different than something else in my collection. Doesn't. Not really, not necessarily. Take for instance this bronzer brush. So I can use it for both setting powder and bronzer, but it's not really any different than me taking these other brushes that I have also used for both setting powder and bronzer, one of which is still Real Techniques. It's the Powder Blue B01 brush. This brush line is phenomenal from them. I have a review of that as well, but I think these are now exclusively available on the Real Techniques website as opposed to Ulta as well. And then I've used this one, the Morphe R2. This is another one where it's kind of pinched in here automatically on the end, so you get a nice fluffy brush for blending powder out, but it also gives you that more narrow edge, so you can go in with a bronzer or whatever you might want to across the cheek. Then it really just comes down to a matter of preference. Then you have the mid-sized brush from this collection, and it actually does a little bit more. You know, it not only can do a more precise contour, it does your blush, it does your highlight, and in theory, you would need, you know, 2, sometimes even 3 brushes to do those separate things. I, however, the master of lazy, have already gotten away with doing that with one before, and I've mentioned this specifically in my travel video because I try and minimize the number of brushes, the number of everything I take really when I travel. But I mentioned the Dailybaileyb Tools 964 brush. This, kind of like that powder brush I mentioned before, it's fluffy, but it's still pinched in here on the sides, so you can get a nice bounce to diffuse your blush, but you can also still use it for your contour. And then I'm not gonna lie, I have also used it to apply highlight. So again, I'm not finding that this Real Techniques brush does much more than other brushes that I found can also multitask. And last up is this weird little dude, the Fine Rebel Edge brush. This was, I think there was more of a learning curve for me with this guy just because of the odd shape that I've never really used in my eye area. However, when you really think about it and its potential uses, it is a brush that you can use to sweep color across the lid. It's a brush that you can use to carve out your crease, albeit not super precisely. Like, I don't think it's a replacement for actually cutting your crease with concealer or a cream base, things like that, but it can help you do the job. And then it can also help you apply and smudge your liner, whether it's a winged liner or just gently smudging it at the base of your lashes. So that's like 3 brushes in one, and that is a harder one that I could not find another brush in my collection to substitute for. You know, as I was going through, it's like, well, a pencil brush will do your wing part and maybe help do your crease part, but it's not super great for sweeping color across the lid, like say this guy where you have, you know, a flat shader brush that's great for sweeping color across the lid, not so much for carving out that crease. So this one I see as having maybe the most diverse utility, albeit kind of a learning curve when it comes to getting to use it, but it might be of the three, the one that kind of innovates the most in this collection. The rest are different takes on brushes I already have in my collection. So bottom line, would I buy, would I not? I think it comes down to your preferred shape. If you have a hole in your brush collection and you need that multitasker brush that can do powder and bronzer or can do bronzer, blush, highlighter, and you like the shape, the looks of these, the shapes, definitely give this set a go. But if you're getting this thinking that this is going to truly innovate your makeup, like how you do your makeup, it's gonna look totally different, make it easier, make it whatever, that I don't think so much. I think it really just comes down to a shape preference. But I don't think they're a total gimmick, so let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments below. I hope this video was helpful, guys. Please let me know what you think. Besides that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys, and sorry for all the lighting issues, like it's kinda crazy today.